Join me to paint this pretty duck using watercolor. The sketch needed for this painting is given here and the link to the sketch is provided in the description from where you can download the image. I start by wetting the area inside the duck sketch. When you paint in a wet area, it gives us the smooth blending effect and adds more depth to our painting. This wet on wet technique brings out the beauty in our artwork. Once I have wet the duck sketch, I mix some yellow ochre with just a touch of violet to create a muddy yellow shade. Using this mix, I paint the duck. This color mix enhances the realism of the white duck. My aim is to paint a light value and then gradually move on to medium and dark value to build up the details of the duck. You can see near its beak and neck I used a light value. Now to paint the shadow part of the neck I use medium value of the mix. As I move below the neck, I want the value of the pigment to get reduced. So I reduce the amount of pigment in the brush by dipping it in water and gently pressing it on a waistcloth, and then I go over on the area where I have to apply a light value. Next I'm applying a medium value at the breast of the duck. By mixing an equal amount of yellow ochre and violet, you get a muddy color which is very dark in value, and using that I paint the belly of the duck. Using that muddy color, I add some feather details when the paper is still wet. Using the same muddy color but in darker value, I paint the shadow part of the neck. Using a light value of cobalt blue, I give a stroke at the tail of the duck. I'm mixing permanent orange with yellow ochre to get a light orange, which is used to paint the beak and foot of the duck. Using the muddy color on the palette, which is a mix of yellow, ochre and violet, I paint the shadow part of the foot. Using indigo pigment, I paint the eye of the duck. After painting the duck, allow the paper to dry completely and then wet all the areas around the duck because we are going to give a background for the duck. There are cobalt blue, violet and indigo in my palette. I mix all these three pigments to get a different kind of blue shade to paint the background. If there is any excess pigment on the paper, just tilt the board and allow it to get collected near the tape, which is then wiped using a waistcloth. Using indigo pigment, I paint the shadowed part under the webbed feet. Next, I'm going to paint the shadow of the duck using wet on wet technique. For that, I wet a small area under the duck. Then, using background color, I paint the shadow of the duck. Using damp brush, I'm just going over on the pigment to avoid formation of hard edges. Thank you for joining me until the end of this video. I hope you found it enjoyable and informative. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel for more content like this. I look forward to see you in the next video. Until then, take care and bye bye from Prema.